All right, good morning. Sorry it took me a minute to get to this, but kids last night and everything, you know how it goes. Hopefully I can help clear up everything. So this is the standings page that links everything here. Okay, that's just how many points you got in your match from the week before. So the first one you wanted to know about was like how to find your handicaps. All right, that's on this tab down here where it says average and handicaps. My guess is you're opening this on your phone and you're probably just not scrolling far enough to the right. Because of some of the math, it just lays out different. All right, it's just a different layout than what you were used to seeing, but all the same information returns. So in previous years, what would happen is you would shoot your score for week 1. Nobody would have a handicap. Gene would take that score, he would figure your handicap from that round, and then he would go back in after the round was over, deduct all the strokes, and then figure the match. And that always worked until you had five rounds, and then he would do like the last 5. But each week it required him to rewrite formulas for every single person, count out. So people like you who missed like the first 5 weeks, you technically wouldn't have a handicap anyway. He would still be doing it the same way. So what we decided to do, because of how much easier all this is just eliminate that. And your handicap is actually figured after you finish the round. I think it actually helps keep the league a little bit more competitively balanced that way, because nobody looks ahead to next week and goes, well, I'll just try to bump up my handicap for a few strokes for next week. Because if you go out and shoot a great round against a team for the next week, your handicap's going to adjust anyway. So it keeps everybody kind of in that hole, playing every match, and it works out a little bit better. So your scratch scores are returned here. The handicaps are in for each week are returned right here. So as you can see, you missed the first 5 weeks, so you didn't have anything showing up until week 5 when you returned. Same thing with Gene. He missed the first 3 weeks. He didn't have a handicap until there. Jerry missed the first week. So as it goes through, it adjusts and figures your scores. All right. So there's the scratch scores, there's the handicap, and then here's the net scores. Okay. And again, each one of these just propagates and shows up. All right. So the next thing you kind of were having some concerns with is you want to know like how it worked for the scoring and strokes, I guess. So here we are on week 7. This is where I input your scratch scores. So whatever's on the scorecard, I put in the column here, okay? It takes this number, goes back to the handicap page, right here. Your handicap is here, and it applies this offset formula and basically takes your handicap and spreads it out so that we can automatically deduct strokes from anybody's handicap at any time, okay? There's never anything that we do that does it. This is the math for it. This is the language that we write. So if somebody is a negative handicap like Clayton, it'll automatically go to the right hole, add the stroke. If somebody's a double and triple digit handicap, like, we have some people getting, some of this person down here, Deuce's son, like there's holes he's getting 3 shots deducted. It automatically applies that every time and just does the math on it. I mean, I could show you how it works, but it works. So the 14 returns there, and then we can come here to week 7, and now I'll break it down. So you're a 14 handicap, which means you shot a 47. You get 14 strokes, that's 33. How do you figure out what scores you got on each hole? The handicaps are right up here. So if you're a 14, you get 1 shot on every hole because there's 9. And then you get 5 extra strokes. So you're going to get 2 strokes on 8. You'll get 2 strokes on 2. You'll get 2 strokes on 7. You'll get 2 strokes on 1. And then you'll get 2 strokes on 9. And there it is. So if you look, you had an 8 right here on hole 1. That one is the number 7 handicap hole, which is one of the holes you got 2 strokes on. So you go from 8 to a 6. All right. And you could kind of just follow it right down the line. The last one is this is your match total points. And again, to do this, you can see this formula we wrote up here. It's really long and complex. It's really, really big, right? I mean, take a look at it. It takes almost 2 whole rows. But if you'd like to see it, I'll go ahead and show it to you. So here we go. I want to... I believe it's under data. Oh, evaluate formula. Okay, so let's just go, for example, you guys, your team 8. All right. So here's what happens. The first thing it's going to do is evaluate the sum of T18 and T19. That's the cell that your and Dave's 2 numbers are in. You guys had a 12. You both had 6s. We can come here and look. Okay, so you both had 6s. So then it's going to apply an offset formula, which goes all the way back to the first page, and I'll show you this matrix. And it counts out where we are in the league. So there's that, divides by 2. 8 weeks, applies that. Standings, counts here. Counts here. It's going to sum T12 versus T13, which is right up here. You played Team 5. That's who you played. That was Mark and Don, Team 5. So it's going to come right up here to Team 5, and it's going to add those 2 scores, and it's 10. Because they had a lower score than you, it's false, so it applies this whole formula here, comes through, comes down, comes down, comes down, and it's going to result that you guys have a 0, right? So it's false. You get a blank value. You did not win a point that hole. So that's how it works. And if you look here, you can go back and just double check. But that's how the math works on it, but I can verify it for it. Team 5, Mark had a 5. The blind is a 5. That's 10. You guys, 6 and 6 is 12. Team 8, right here, 0. Team 5, 1. You can go through and add up every score if you want to double check to make sure my formulas are working right. Gene does it every week for me anyway, so I don't take any offense to it. It's good to have somebody check. But that's how the math works out on that. So that's how you guys figure out how many points you got per match. And then here, it just calculates all that. Because each week what was happening is Gene would have to copy and paste and move around all these names and then do a bunch of hard data entry. What we've done is eliminated the need for all that. And this was that little matrix that I was saying is going to be effective. If you look on page 1 and you come down to the standings, the offset formula applies to here. So what that was doing is, as it was going through and counting and making those calculations, it counted back here to week 7. It rolled all the way down to where you guys are, which is team, make sure I say this right, team 8. And right here in team 8 in week 7, you played team 5. And if you look, when we go back, I'll show you one last time, but if we go back to that week 7 scores, at the end of it, you guys are going to have 7.5 points. If we go here, go all the way over to that, team 8, boom, there's 7.5, team 5, 2.5. So that's how all of that works. Let me just double check your, okay, there's the strokes. With pars on 3 and 4, I thought I'd have a net 1 and a net 2, especially since my first 2 scores were 56. So let me go through these 3 and 4. Okay, so I think some of the confusion on that might be that you had a 3 and a 2. Okay, the third hole is an 11 and the fourth hole is the 13. So no, you're not getting 2 strokes on that hole. You're only getting 1 on each of those holes. So respectively, your scores were 2 and 3, not 1 and 2. You weren't getting 2 strokes because, again, your handicap is a 14. So you're only getting 2 strokes on those holes. All right. I'm hoping that this makes sense. If not, shoot me another email and I can walk you through it. But instead of trying to write all of that and diagram it, I just thought this little 10-minute video would probably be more helpful to you.